Hello everyone, my name is Sultan Fasarauf with last four-digit number of NPM 2181. So this video is created for the final term of English debate and critical thinking. So first of all, as an adjudicator for this NUDC 2024 Grand Final debate video, I will provide a comprehensive evaluation of the debate on the motion. This House believes that the Indonesian government should significantly tax residential properties that are left vacant. So, to start it all, I will go with the team ranking first. Starting off, the fourth place is the opening government from Universitas Surabaya. The third place is the opening opposition from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. The second place is closing government from Universitas Atmajaya Jakarta. And the first place is closing opposition from Universitas Brawijaya. So, what is my justification and reason to rank them with this? So, the debate was ultimately won in the closing half, with closing opposition securing the first place. I will shorten the closing opposition with COs. So this year, COs' victory stems from their ability to introduce a sophisticated and game-changing extension that analyze the market dynamics and second-order effects of the proposed tax, while opening opposition (OO) introduced the crucial counter-characterization of property owners. CO deepened this by explaining the specific, devastating impact on market equilibrium and a clearly defined vulnerable group, migrant workers. They successfully argued that the policy, while well-intentioned, will create a more evil market by unnaturally inflating prices beyond that urban centers, a harm the government side did not sufficiently mitigate. The closing government earns a strong second place by substantially improving upon their opening case. They filled the logical gaps by providing clear mechanism on how the tax revenue will be used and presenting tangible alternatives for property owners such as renting or selling. However, they were not able to fully defend against the powerful market-based arguments from CO, making their solution seem less certain in its positive outcomes. The opening opposition takes third for establishing a critical foundation for the opposition bench. They effectively challenged the premise of the debate by shifting the focus from the super rich to middle-class families with inherited properties or those who migrate for work. This initial framing was essential, though their analysis of the harms was not as deep or systematically proven as COs. The last one is the fourth place, opening government. It is ranked at the last because they set up the debate with a clear problem statement regarding the housing crisis and property hoarding. Although their case was somewhat simplistic, it relied heavily on the characterization of all vacant property owners as malicious mafia, and their mechanism for solving the issue was underdeveloped, as pointed out by their own closing team. My detailed team adjudication for this, I want to talk about matter, manner, and method. For the first place, closing opposition from Universitas Brawijaya themselves, it is very exceptional. CO's primary contribution was nuanced economic analysis of the housing market. They argued that a significant tax will not lower prices, but instead cause an unnatural exponential price hike as owners pass the cost on. Their argument that market equilibrium will cause prices in suburban areas to also increase was brilliant. Extension that demonstrated a wider societal harm. They effectively rebutted CG by questioning the likelihood of the tax revenue being used effectively and arguing it will worsen gentrification. The manner. The speaker will speak very clearly and very confident. Their analytical style was highly persuasive. It's presenting their economic arguments as inevitable market logic. They also engage well with the POIs, using them to reinforce their core arguments about affordability. The method. It is very flawless role fulfillment. The member of opposition clearly differentiated from OO by flagging a deeper market analysis. This strategy to focus on the unintended consequences for the broader market and specific vulnerable groups like migrant workers was highly effective. The opposition whip did an excellent job weighing the debate, showing why CEO's harms were more certain than widespread than CG's proposed benefits. There are two positive comments, but the first one, the extension on how market equilibrium will lead to price increases in suburban areas, was strategically brilliant and extended the impact of the harm very significantly. The second one is the identification and detailed explanation of why migrant workers are a uniquely vulnerable group in this context made the argument highly compelling and relatable. My suggestion for improvement is first, the initial characterization of status quo market as affordable was like overstatement and could have been praised more cautiously as more affordable than it will be under the proposed tax. The second one, while the market analysis was strong, providing a brief and concrete example of a similar tax policy backfiring elsewhere, could have made the argument even more irrefutable. Next, to the second place, the closing government from Universitas Atmajaya Jakarta. The matter, very strong. The CG skillfully filled the logical gaps left by opening government. They provide clear alternatives for property owners, which directly address the problem of vacant homes. Their argument that the tax revenue is specifically taking it from housing for housing was a much stronger link than opening governments. They effectively refuted opening opposition points about the difficulty of selling by framing it as a problem for the rich, not a vulnerable group. Second one is manner. The speakers were articulate and passionate. They presented their case with a sense of urgency and moral clarity, effectively framing the issue as one of the fairness and development for a developing country. The method they use are very excellent. The member of government clearly outlined their extension and its importance. The strategy to refocus the debate on the justification for government intervention and the tangible benefits of the tax was fairly smart. The government whip summary effectively highlighted the deterrence effect of the tax and attempted to dismiss the opposition's harms as unlikely. The positive comments I can give is the first one, the framing of the policy as offering a peaceful choice. Quote, either you one, sell your house, or two, rent it out, was a sophisticated, persuasive way to counter the opposition narrative of unfair punishment. Second one, the characterization of Indonesia as a developing country that needs to optimize land use for development, not just for the investment portfolios of the rich, was a powerful and relevant framing. My suggestion for improvement: 1. The team could have better preempted or respond to CEO's core argument about the market backfiring. Their dismissal of the price hike concern was not as robust as it needed to be. Second one, the argument to take down the prices then so other people can opt into it, quote out, could have been strengthened by explaining why rich investors will choose to sell at a loss rather than paying the tax, especially if they are as wealthy as characterized. Third place is the opening opposition from Universitas Kristen Indonesia. The matter, it is very good. Yow's key contribution was successfully challenging Oji's premise. The characterization of property owners is as not just the super rich, but also middle class individuals who inherit homes or migrate for work. It was crucial for the argument that the policy is principally incorrect because people are being taxed without benefiting from the property was clear and well explained. The TLO also made an excellent point, shifting blame to developers and past government policy rather than their individual owners. Second one is manner. The speakers were very fluent and presented arguments with conviction. They have succeeded in creating a some sympathetic image of the individuals who will be negatively affected by the policy. The method is it's decently enough role fulfillment. The leader of the opposition set a clear principled line and characterization that served the entire opposition branch. The strategy to focus on the immorality of the tax and the harm to a broader class of people than OG knowledge was effective in opening the debate up. My two positive comments is one, the introduction of middle class homeowners who inherit property or work abroad was the most important strategic contribution from this team. It's successfully complicating the government's narrative. 2. The argument that the true culprits of the housing crisis are large-scale developers and flawed government policy of the past, and not individual homeowners, was sharp and very insightful. My suggestion for these teams is the team's practical harms were less developed while they claim the policy will force people to sell and decrease their saving, the scale and likelihood of this harm could have been more thoroughly explained. The second one, the argument that it's hard for rich people to sell their house in areas like Kemang was somewhat contradictory to their main focus on protecting the middle class, making their protected group feel a bit more inconsistent. We go on to the third place, the last one, the opening government from Universitas Surabaya. Matter. It's very fair, it's decent. The Prime Minister did a good job setting up the debate by identifying a clear problem. The housing crisis exacerbated by wealthy individuals hoarding property for investment. The core argument that this is harmful because land is a finite resource was very logical. The TPM's argument about the tax functioning to control property price was also relevant. However, the case relied on a fairly one-dimensional view of property owned as mafia, which was easily challenged. The mechanism linking to the tax to solving the problem was also vague. The second one, manner. The speakers were clear and confident in their delivery. Their passion for solving the housing disparity was evident and made their speeches engaging. The last one, their method. The team fulfilled their basic roles. The Prime Minister defined the motion and allowed the team's case. Additionally, the TPM attempted to rebut and add new layers. However, the overall strategy was very simplistic. By focusing almost exclusively on a villainous caricature of the rich, they made their case vulnerable to more nuanced characterizations provided by the opposition. The positive comments I can give for the opening's government is the team effectively established the moral problem at the heart of the debate, that it is fundamentally selfish and harmful for a few to hoard a limited and essential resource like housing. The DPM made a good point that fiscal policy or taxation is one of the few tools the government can use when it cannot simply seize property due to building rights. And the next one is the suggestion for this team for their improvements. The first one is the mechanisms how the tax revenue solves the housing crisis need to be much more detailed. The link was asserted rather than proven, a weakness that their closing team had to repair. Second one is the characterization of all vacant property owners was overly simplified. acknowledging some nuance, like, for example, distinguishing between someone with one extra apartment and the mafia with dozens of them. It would have made their case more resilient. Well, I think that's all. I have that is my adjudications result for this debate. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.